Hearts program. Every Tuesday, we bring to you tailored nutrition and lifestyle education. We cover so many nutrition-related topics. And today, we've come your way with another interesting but very important topic. Today, we have a colleague of mine who is a lecturer in nutrition to talk to us about food toxins and food safety. This is quite different from the topics we've been doing over the last couple of months. And so I'm not going to say much about this because I'm really looking forward to this topic myself. And so without much ado, I'm going to invite our guest speaker today, who is Maryam Ojo, to introduce herself. And I'll urge everyone listening to us to please join in the conversation. This is a very important topic. Everyone, whether from within our community or not, should be interested in this topic. Send us your questions, any myths or misinformation, anything that you need clarity about, please do send it to us. And I believe our guest speaker is going to do justice to these questions. Okay, so welcome to everyone on the chat as well. Please, as always, do join in the conversation. Don't wait till the end. You can stop us as we go along at any point, and we will address your questions for you. So Maryam, I think I'll stop talking now and give the floor to you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hibbah. I want to say good evening to everyone here. I hope you are all doing well. My name is Maryam Ojo. I'm a nutritionist, and I've been into community nutrition for more than 15 years now. Currently, I work with the Montfort University in Leicester in the United Kingdom. I take courses mostly in public health nutrition and clinical nutrition. So I'll be sharing my slides now. So today we are going to be talking about food toxins and food safety. What we are going to be discussing today, we are going to be talking about the toxins that are present in our food, and we relate it to how it comes about food safety. So before we move ahead, I first want us to before we go ahead, let us understand the concept of toxins. What are toxins? When you're talking about toxins, I hope at one point or the other, we will have heard about toxins. And to a layman, we ordinarily think, okay, toxins are poisons. And we believe that toxins are things that are added to food. When in actual fact, toxins, some of the time, are naturally occurring in our food. So that is why it is very, very important for us to first understand what we mean by toxins.
Can you speak a bit slowly, please?
Okay.
Thank you, Maryam.
This toxin, okay, thank you. These toxins we are talking about, they are poisons that are of plants or animal origin. They are organic in nature. Organic in the sense that because they occur naturally in our plants or in our animals, that is why we say they are organic. And when we are talking about toxins, it can be as a result of a microorganism that is growing on a food material in terms of plants, or a food material in terms of animal. However, there are some toxins that they are not microorganisms, but the way the plant has been created naturally, or the way the animal has been created naturally, it has been created with the toxin for one reason or the other. We are going to be talking about why a plant or an animal will have a toxin. These toxins we are talking about, they are in the cells of the animal or the plants, and they are conjugated proteins. When I say conjugated proteins, what I mean is that there are different types of protein. There are simple protein, there are conjugated protein. Conjugated protein is a complex protein. It is that kind of a complex amino acid that reacts with other chemicals in the cells of that animal or the plant. So these toxins, they are small molecules, although they are proteins in form of amino acids, and they are in form of peptides or proteins. And they interact with other molecules, as I've mentioned, in a chemical reaction, like enzymes in our body. And when we are talking about toxins, these toxins can be contacted, can be through absorption, that is, we absorb them, maybe when we eat them, when we eat a food in terms of plant or animal that contain a toxin, then after digestion, it goes into our system through the bloodstream. Or we get in contact with them. Maybe we get in contact with that animal or the plant that has a toxin, and that animal stings us or bites us and release that toxin into our system. So it varies. I said there are some animals that are naturally created to have toxins. Example is the bee. The bee stings. When the bee stings an individual, it deposits its toxins into the skin of that individual. And that toxin goes directly into the bloodstream of that individual. However, I mentioned that sometimes it may not be that animal or that food material in terms of plant that has the toxin, but a microorganism that is growing on that food material. Example of that is botulinum. And this botulinum we are talking about, when it grows on a food material, it's a microorganism. When it grows on a food material, it releases a toxin that is very fatal, that can cause a lot of diseases and even death to the individual that consumed that particular food material. So when individuals or animals are affected with toxins, it can cause allergies. And that is why when a bee stings you, you are going to see a swelling on the skin. There can be redness, which we call inflammation. There can be pain and things like that. Then it can cause intolerance and it can cause poisoning. Most of the time, when the toxin is caused by a microorganism, it's usually lead to a condition we call food poisoning. Why do we have toxins occurring naturally in animal or in plants? Number one, it can be as a result of predation. When we talk about snake, scorpion, jellyfish, and things like that, because they feed on lower animals, they feed on smaller animals, they use that, they introduce their toxin into that animal to be able to conquer that particular animal for them to eat. And that is why they have that toxin. That's the purpose of that toxin in their system. We can use them, they can be as a result of defense. Bees. Bees naturally don't attack human beings, but it will only attack you if you get in contact with them. So that is when they attack. So they are using that as a defense mechanism for them to protect themselves from predators or from any environmental dangers. However, in some plants, plant food materials like cassava, like cereals, we also have these things in them. Cyanide. There's been a lot of information, there's been a lot of hula baloo about cassava containing cyanide. How do we get rid of the cyanide? It causes a lot of illness and things like that. And a lot of research have been carried out on the cyanide content of cassava. However, cassava is a staple food in most African countries. So these toxins we are talking about, it only affects a human being when it accumulates more than the safe level. So cassava inside, cyanide in cassava, gluten in cereals, and lectins in legumes. They are all toxins in plant form. So to a layman, we believe toxin is something that we introduce, a poison that we introduce into food.
Maryam, can you hold on just before you continue? I wanted to ask a question about those three food items you mentioned. So you said cyanide in cassava. What in legumes? What did you mention?
Lectins.
Lectins in legumes.
Yeah.
And then there was another food you mentioned, gluten in cereals.
Gluten in cereals, yeah.
Are you saying that people consider these as toxins? Are you saying these are toxins? Oh, no, you did say that it's only when it's you have it in a beyond the safe levels.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's below the safe levels, it's usually okay.
Well, yeah, we are still going to talk about what will happen if it's below the safe level.
And there's something
they are naturally toxic.
They are naturally toxic in those foods.
In those foods. And when we consume them, there is a way that the body gets rid of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we are still going to get there. But
Okay.
I just want to mention them as examples of toxins that we have in our food materials.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I've had a message that we still need you to slow down for us.
Okay.
So, because this is a complex topic, so we can follow you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, to a layman, we believe that toxins are artificial things that we add to food. However, it may not always be so. So that is why I said, what is the difference between toxins and toxicants? I've explained what toxins are. Toxins are things that are naturally occurring. They are organic in nature in plants and in animals. And when you're talking about toxicants, these are from artificial sources. When, for example, if I give you an example, if a washing liquid or a cleaning agent in my house contaminates my food, I will not say that is toxin. I will say that is a toxicant. That cleaning agent is toxic, but it is not naturally occurring in that particular food material. It's an external contamination to my food. So it's going to be a toxicant because I introduce it to it. So that is the difference between toxins and toxicants. However, toxicant is quite broad. It's broader than toxins, and that is why toxin is a subset of toxicants. So when we are talking about toxins, how are they being transmitted? They can be transmitted through inhalation. Example is perceiving it. I go to a petrol station, I go and fill my car with petrol. While I'm filling the car, there's this fumes or gas that is coming into the air, which I'm absorbing, I'm inhaling into my system. Or I stay very close to somebody that is smoking. The content of that smoke from the cigarette that is coming from the smoker, I'm a passive smoker because I will inhale the content of the cigarette that is in the air, or whatever, a smoke or a discharge from a company that is left out into the air and things like that. They can be by ingestion. Ingestion means we eat them through our mouth. And they can be by skin absorption. Maybe we have a contact, our skin has contact with a toxic material, then they can absorb themselves through the skin. And when we are talking about organic toxins, about toxins, we can say they are poisons when they are through inhalation or ingestion. We call them venoms when they are through stinging, like from snake or from scorpion or from bees, and also from bites. And we call them toxogens when they are from spraying. There's a particular animal that sprays its saliva into the system, into the air. So I have just forgotten the name of that animal for now. So this kind of situation, we call them toxogens. So that brings us to food contamination. I said a microorganism that is growing on food can release toxins into the food and make the food toxic, even if the food is not naturally toxic. So when you're talking about contamination, we are talking about a direct contamination that has contact, when a toxin has direct contact with our food material. And there's an indirect contamination. It may be as a result of our handling or in food processing or food preparation. In this kind of situation, it is not that the producer or the handler is intentionally introducing food toxins into the food. I will give you an example. If you are buying canned food, maybe canned fish or canned meat, you know, after canning that food, the food will go through some processes to preserve that particular food material from spoilage. But the real truth is that the contents of the tin that is used in the canning will leach very, very slowly into the food material. And the longer the food stays in the can, the longer it continues, the content of the tin, of the material of packaging continues to leak directly into the food. Why do we say some plastics are microwavable, some are not? In our houses, especially in this part of the world where the weather is very cold, most of us, we microwave our food before we eat. But they'll say on the plastic, they will tell you if it is microwavable or if it is not. If the plastic says it is microwavable, that means if you put it there into the microwave, because of the radiation and the heat that is produced and everything, the contents of that plastic cannot leak into your food. And that is why they say it is safe, microwave safe or microwavable. However, there are some plastic that are not safe for microwave. And that is what we are talking about when we are talking about contamination. When we are talking about contamination, there are different ways that this contamination comes in. So it may be indirect contamination. It may be as a result of maybe during our food preparation, our handling, our storage, and things like that. And this most of the time may be as a result of the ignorance of the person that is carrying out the activity, or maybe as a result of the poor facilities or the knowledge of the individual. So when we are talking about toxins, what are the sources? I've mentioned previously that it can be from natural sources or biological sources, from plants in the form of alkaloids or glycosides. It can be from in acid in animals in the form of bile acids, and it can be from microbes, microorganisms. This can be fungal toxins in the form of mycotoxins. These are fungi. Bacterial toxin in the form of E. coli. This E. coli can cause a lot of discomfort, intestinal discomfort, and things like that. And mycotoxin and aflatoxins too. And Clostridium botulinum is one of the things that can cause a lot of problems to individuals, which can lead to fatal conditions. So another source, which is the external source into our food now, we can talk about toxic chemicals. During agriculture, when the plant is still on the farm, farmers want to use a lot of chemicals, herbicides, insecticides, pesticides, and a lot of other sites that they want to use to protect the plants for them to have a very good harvest. So they spray all these plants with these chemicals to protect them from insects, from weeds, from things and things like that. Directly or indirectly, is either these chemicals fall on the leaves and the stem of the plants and it is being absorbed, or these chemicals will definitely fall on the soil and they will percolate into the soil and mix with the soil content, the water content of the soil. And when they mix with the water content, the root of the plants will absorb them, will take them up as they take water and other nutrients. So this is how these pest chemicals can get into our food from agriculture. Endocrine disruptors, as that from food additives like benzoic acid. Today, because of we eat a lot of processed food, there are a lot of processed food in our market and things like that. They have a lot, this processed food have a lot of artificial flavors, artificial sweetener, a lot of artificial things that they have added to this food. And as a result of this can they will continue to stay in that food material until they get to our table and we eat them with this food material. They call them endocrine disruptors because they can affect the hormonal system of our body. These materials, toxic materials that we are talking about, these artificial flavors, colors, and whatever. The industrial waste. Industrial waste, maybe it is leaked directly from the industry, or it is thrown into our water body, disposed into our water bodies, or it is disposed into our sewage areas and you know, our whatever places where we put our domestic waste and things like that. All of these things, they one way or the other get to us because they get into the water bodies, they get into the air, they get into our soil, and we have consistent contacts with all these sources, with water bodies and lands and everything. Then industrial processing. Because we want our chicken or our fish to meet market size as early as possible, because we want to make profits. We want to reduce the cost of production. A lot of people that are involved in poultry, fishery, rabbitry, or a lot of other things, they inject some of these organisms. They look so big, yet they are not, their age is so small because they want them to meet market size. And apart from that, to prevent infection among these animals, they can inject them with antibiotics and a lot of other things. Yes, the antibiotic will prevent the infection in the animal, but is the antibiotic eradicated or discharged or excreted completely in that animal before the animal gets to my table? That is a question. So these are the kind of things where we get these toxins that we are talking about. Let us look at our own. There are lots and lots of ways where we can get toxic materials that can contaminate our food in our house. Example of our pesticide. Maybe we want to kill insects or things like that. Even our toothpaste, the fluoride content of our toothpaste is toxic when it past safe level. The tin, I've mentioned the tin, our packaged foods that are packaged in tins, packaged in plastic, packaged in a lot of other things. So this, the exhaust from our cars, our vehicles, and a lot of other things, even the plastic that is used to make our hanger, and a lot of other things in our homes, they can be sources of toxic materials and they can contaminate our food materials. So this toxic we are talking about, what is the effect? The effect will only come when toxins pass the safe level in a human system, in the human body. That is when they will cause symptoms. I gave you an example some minutes ago that if I'm stung by a bee, what will happen? If I'm stung by a bee, there's going to be an inflammation on that particular area of my skin. Because at that particular instance, the toxin level of that area of my skin has passed my safe level. Because when I'm stung by a bee, the bee will release the toxin content of his system from his system into my system. Naturally, if I don't do anything, I don't apply any cream, I don't take any injection, it will naturally go away by itself because my body will naturally get over it and the inflammation will go down and everything will look normal. However, it can be as a result, it can cause food poisoning if I eat a food that is contaminated with aflatoxin or mycotoxin or E. coli, even if that food is a small quantity. But because it contains this bacterial toxin or fungal toxin, it can give me like stomach discomfort, I can have vomiting, I can have diarrhea, and I can have cramps and a lot of other things like that, which will show an indication of food poisoning. However, when these poisons accumulate, when these toxins accumulate in the body over a long period of time, a long exposure to toxins, they can be pathogenic. Pathogenic means they can cause diseases in our system. They can become carcinogenic. That means they can prone our systems to becoming cancerous. They can cause cancer, especially chemical toxins. These chemical toxins, cancer that are artificial toxins. They can become mutagenic. Mutagenic means they can cause mutation. Mutation means they change the structure of the cell such that there's going to be an abnormality, a cellular abnormality in that organism. They can cause teratogenic. They can become teratogenic means they can cause birth defects. Birth defects, the individual can start to have a child that is malformed, a child that is coming out with a lot of congenital problems and things like that. And they can cause endocrine disruption. That is, they interfere with the hormonal system of the body, such that the hormones will not work the way they are supposed to work. It can lead to, for example, if the menstrual hormone is affected, the menstruation can become irregular and a lot of other things like that. So they can interfere with our immune system, they can interfere with our reproductive system, our nervous system, they can interfere with an individual's development, they can interfere with cognitive development and hormonal system and general toxicity of the body. So when we are talking about toxins and toxicants and a lot of other things, whether the toxin is artificial or it is natural, everything comes under what we call food safety. Whether that toxin is something that we introduce by ourselves or it comes naturally in the organism or in the plant or in the animal, then it is everything they come under the food, what we call the food safety. When you're talking about food safety is what we are talking about, is how safe is our food, how we maintain the safety of our food before we consume it. This food safety we are talking about, it will involve all stakeholders. It involves me and you. It involves the retailer. It involves the producer. It involves even the government when we are talking about issues of food safety. So this food safety we are talking about, one thing I want us to know is that because of the condition we have found ourselves today, it is different when we are talking. There are a lot of policies that has been on ground for the use of pesticide, herbicide, and a lot of other chemicals in agriculture, the amount to use, how to use them to be able to protect the plants. And there are a lot of policies that have been made for people that are producing animal products like poultry and fishery and things like that, even though they still give them injections and a lot of other things. But there's one thing that we have left that has been left untouched, or we say a lot of work has not been done on it because it's like we have not been able to identify, we have not been able to look at that area. And that is the problem of nutrition transition that we have in our environment today. We are moving to more processed foods. And when you are talking about these processed foods, they are foods that it contains a lot of artificial things, a lot of artificial flavors, artificial sweetener, artificial colors, and a lot of other things that can be artificial as much as possible. That is what they contain. And because of this, because they contain a lot of this, the final consumer, you and me, we are going to consume all these things when we eat these foods. Yes, I've mentioned agriculture, I've mentioned animal production, I've mentioned the other things because there are rules and guidelines. But is there any rule? Is there any policy and guideline that is guiding our eateries? What they put in the food that we eat? A lot of us go to restaurants today, we order food online, we walk into the restaurant to have lunch, to have dinner, to have whatever we go there to have. We buy these foods and we eat them. Yes, they will have aesthetic value, they will be beautiful, they will be enticing, they will have taste, they will have aroma, they have a lot of other, but do we ever wonder, do we ever consider the fact that what is the content? It is when I want to buy a packaged thing that I'll be able to look at the food label. But what about buying something that is already produced, that is ready-made, that is ready to eat? Will I be able to analyze the content of what I'm eating? So that is one of the problems of food safety today. And these things, some of these additives, they are not healthy for you and for me. And when we are talking about food safety, because this food, I mentioned that indirect contamination can occur when we are talking about food safety. It may be as a result of the handling in the kitchen, as a result of the handling in the factory, in the industry, where the food is being produced. So in this kind of situation, if there's a contamination, whether of microorganism or of chemicals, you can imagine the amount, the number of people that is going to be affected if there's a contamination in that aspect. So that is one of the problems of food safety that is yet to be explored extensively in our environment today. Me and you and me, we go to the shops, we buy our foods, whether they are raw foods or we are processed foods. We go to the restaurants, we go to all these places without knowing actually the content of what we are buying, without knowing the exact thing we are putting into our mouth. So, and that is a very important thing that we have to be very, very conscious of. This advent of genetically modified foods, We know at one point or the other we'll have heard of GMOs, genetically modified foods. What are they modifying? How do they come about genetically modification? The purpose of genetically modified is to create variety, to create better harvests, to create aesthetic value, and a lot of other things, benefits that we are talking about. However, they have their benefits, yes, but what about the other aspect of it? When they genetically modify things, whether it's animal or plants, when they genetically modify them, what happens? What happens? They add some things. They inject the animals with some things. They inject the plants with some things. Yes, the genetically modified tomato will look very big, very shiny, very beautiful, very fleshy. Yeah, very fleshy, and a lot of other characteristics that will make you want to buy it. But in actual fact, are they really healthy? It's a question we have to continue to ask ourselves. Because of the genetic modification that these things have gone through, are they really healthy? And some of these processed food that are genetically modified, they come in packagings like plastic. And this plastic we are talking about, what is the toxicity, what is the toxic nature of this plastic? Sometimes they leak into the food. And by the time it gets to my table and your table, we already have a food that is contaminated with plastic materials that is leaching, gradually leaching into the food.
Maryam, take a break. There's a comment in the chat. Martha is asking, should we try and buy organic foods where we can?
Yeah, we are still going to get to that.
You're still going to get to organic foods. Yeah. When you talked about GMOs, I was like, that is a big debate out there. And so I just wanted to add a comment that apart from the question you are asking, which I know is rhetorical, whether they are healthy or not, we still don't have the research to tell us the long-term impact of GMOs. So that I know that we don't have the evidence, at the moment to really tell us the impact of GMOs. I guess that is why it's still very debatable. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to chip in that, because some people are really for GMOs. When you go out there are people.
So when you're talking about,
yeah, go on.
When we talk about food safety, what has been the effort of our government so far when we are talking about food safety? The World Health Organization and the Food and Agricultural Organization, they are the ones that are responsible to be assessing the risk and make recommendations for preventing contamination of our food. They have something they call the Joint Expert Committee on Food Additives. That is for processed food that is processed in the company, not for foods that is prepared in a restaurant. Yes, I have gone to a restaurant, I've bought chips and fish and chips. The producer of the chips, because it's a processed food, and the fish, whatever, they have been monitored by this FAO and the guidelines and things like that, because they have standards of how much they put, how much salt, how much seasoning, how much oil, how much things that they need to put there. But the person that is preparing the fish and chips for me as a final consumer in the restaurant, what body is governing them? There's nobody. No, there's hardly nobody that is governing all these people. They can add anything and nobody will know what they have added. So this Joint Committee on Food Additives that we are talking about, they conduct scientific reviews and a lot of studies of toxins and determine the maximum tolerable intake that can be, if it is naturally occurring in food, that they can have in food. And the Codex Alimentarius Commission is also there to set standards. So how can we reduce our exposure when we are talking about food toxins, toxicants, and whatever? Number one thing that I want us to understand is that because a food material is organic, does not necessarily mean it is safe from toxic materials. Because it is organic, it says organic on the label, does not necessarily mean it is safe.
Oops. I feel like we need to pause on that one. Do you want to please shed some more light on that? Because
yes.
I think most of us thought that, okay, once I go organic, then I'm safe. Please shed some more light on that.
Yes. When we say food material is organic, we can only know if it is organic, maybe by the label, by the food label on that material, especially people like us where we have our food package already, but people from Africa where they have open markets, or if we have open market in this part of the world too, we can be able to look at things like that. Though most of us, we prefer to go for the genetically modified because they look more big and fleshy and things like that. However, if the food says it is organic on the packaging, there are other ways from the packaging material itself that they have used to package the food. From the handling of the person that has packed the food into the packaging, from the transportation of that food from the place of processing of production to the shop where you are going to get the food and things like that. So these are different ways along the food chain that this food can be contaminated. You know, remember when we are talking about contamination or toxicity or toxicants, it is not only the naturally occurring in that food, but also the indirect contamination that can be as a result of environmental factors, handling, packaging, processing, transportation, and a lot of other things. So because that food is organic does not necessarily mean that is purely 100% safe from toxins. So, however, at least to eliminate the possibility of the toxicity, at least to the safest level, let us go for organic products rather than non-organic ones.
Right. Martha has a comment. I live in Manchester and I buy organic fruits from Unicorn. It's a cooperative who specializes in organic foods. They only buy from organic farmers and producers. You know, you were mentioning that if it's an open market or something like that, then that, Someone also says, I've heard it being said before that the only way to know that your food is organic is to grow it yourself, I guess, is what the person is trying to say.
Yes. It is only the thing that you grow yourself in your garden that you are sure of what it is. And it will be protected from all this handling and whatever, transportation, and packaging and whatever.
I think the one Martha is also talking about, it's one of those that you can really trust because they work with the farmers and things like that. Yeah.
So, yes, there is no research that is talking about the long-term effects because they have not studied. When you are talking about long-term effect, that means you have to do the study over a long period of time. And when exactly do we start having GMO products in our markets to the extent that we're able to determine the long-term effects of genetically modified food? But one thing that is sure is that they have been genetically modified. And genetical modification has to do with a lot of laboratory research and possibly addition of some chemicals or some additives or some artificial things. So that's one is what we are sure of. So if we are not sure of the long-term effects, let us take cognizance of what we are sure of currently. And that is why I will advise that if we have the option of going for organic, we have organic and we have GMO, we rather go for the organic and leave the GMO. Then we can prepare our own food wash. There are some things that we can buy in the shops that they say it's for washing our vegetables and for washing our fruits and things like that, but you can prepare your own. Ordinary normal saline, as in salt dissolved in water, we can use it to wash our vegetables. And if you have vinegar, that is organic vinegar. That is vinegar, not the chemical laboratory prepared one. So if you have ordinary vinegar, we can mix vinegar with water if you have to wash your vegetables or wash your fruits. Then we need to prevent canned food products as much as possible. Number one, because I've mentioned that the content of the can, the longer the food remains in that can, the longer the content continues to leach, though it is very, very minimal. But the fact still remains that, do you know how many years the food has been produced before it gets to your own table? Do you know the amount? Can you quantify the amount of leaching of metals that has entered that food before it gets to your own final table? So we had rather prevent food from cans and food from plastics and go for food that are in glass, or better still, let us go for the raw form or the raw substitute of these foods. Most of this canned food, we have the raw substitutes. Food fermentation. Some minutes ago, I was talking about cyanide in cassava. One of the methods that have been proven scientifically to remove cyanide content from cassava is fermentation. When there is fermentation, the content of cyanide is broken down. And at the end of the day, by the time the cassava is completely fermented, though it may not be totally 100% eradicated, the cyanide content, but at least it will have been brought down considerably in the cassava. So food fermentation is one of the methods that we can use to reduce the toxic content of our food. A lot of us today, we use non-stick pan because we believe that even when I sleep off, when my food is on the cooker, it may not, it may not get stuck to the pan and a lot of other things. But what's that coating? That coating in our non-stick pan is also dangerous to our health. As we continue to cook with our non-stick pan, and that is why they tell you, if once you have a scratch on your non-stick pan, you dispose the pan. You don't use it for cooking anymore. So why not go for pans that are not coated inside it? Why not go for pans that is safer, cooking pans that are safer for our consumption, rather than going for non-stick pan? And this non-stick pan, we have to be realistic. It's because it is in vogue. It is because it is in trend. It is trending. That is why a lot of us are buying them. It's not that they have any special benefits for us eventually. Let us filter our water. If you have water filter in our house, let's filter our drinking water, because while the drinking water is passing through the pipes and a lot of other things, it might at one point or the other, even the metal piping can have leached into the water, or maybe at one point or the other, there's leakage somewhere and some contamination of microorganisms could have entered our water and things like that. Then dietary diversity is another way that we can use. Let's not stick particularly to a specific kind of food. Let us diversify. Let us eat different types of food, such that at the end of the day, we will not be stocking ourselves with this particular kind of food that's likely to have a particular toxin. Because we eat varieties, because we eat different types of foods, that means we are going to eat a bit of each and every food material. So eating a bit of every food material, no matter what the content of that food material is, that means if it's a negative thing that is the food contains, then before it can accumulate to the level that it will affect us, it will take a longer time. Roasting, boiling, milling, drying, and irradiation of food is another way that we can deal with the toxins in our food. It is also very important for us to read the food labels. I personally don't like processed foods. And when I read food labels and I look at the food additives, yes, most of us will read the calorie content, the salt content, the sugar content, but do we ever bother to read the additives, the food additives that are contained in that food? So the food additives is one of the things that we need to be concerned about when we are talking about food label. These food additives we are talking about, as we have mentioned before, is one of the things that is affecting us today. And let's go for homemade meals rather than ordering food online eating at the restaurants every time, and but eating of all these processed things and other things that we take, that we get involved in, it is very, very important that if we prepare the food by ourselves, we are 100% sure of the contents of that food, and we know what we are eating. We are sure of what we are eating. When we are talking about food safety, it is very important that we look at our kitchen etiquettes. How do we handle our kitchen? What are the activities we do in the kitchen? We mentioned that when you are talking about contamination, toxins, and things like that, one of the things that bring toxins into our food is infection and contamination, microorganisms growing on the food, or artificial contamination that we introduce by ourselves into our food. When we are using cutting instruments, do we use the same knife that I've used to cut meat? Without washing it, I use it to cut my vegetables. Do I use the same knife that I have used to cut my vegetable? I'm using it to slice orange into two and giving it to my children without washing them. So these are some of the things that we need to ask ourselves. Then our refrigeration. Yes, refrigeration in our fridge, a lot of us don't know, but there is an instruction. It's even in the manual of the fridge, of the refrigerator, that this particular kind of food, this is the temperature required. This particular kind of food, this is the temperature required. And even in some fridge, it will be drawn there, the picture of what you are expected to put in a particular section of your fridge. Where you are supposed to put vegetables, you see the picture of vegetable. Where you need to put your eggs, you see the picture of the eggs. Where you need to put the milk, you see the picture of the milk in the fridge. But a lot of us don't take cognizance of that. We just arrange anything anyhow and put them in the fridge. If we have a very small fridge, how do we arrange them? It is very important that we arrange things that are raw below, and arrange when I mean things that are raw and they can discharge water, like fish, like meats, we arrange them below and arrange the ones that cannot discharge fluid above. What I mean is, if I've gone to the market and I have a combination of a lot of things, I've bought meat, I've bought chicken, I've bought vegetables, I've bought fruit, I've bought milk and other things, how do I arrange them in my fridge? And for example, if it is something that needs to be frozen, if it is my deep freezer, it's one that is not very big, what I need to do is I need to demarcate the inside of my freezer such that I will have a section for frozen processed food, like chips, like hot wings, like all these things, that pizza and a lot of other things that are frozen but they are processed. I have another section for frozen non-processed food, like raw fish, raw meat, raw whatever, and I make sure I package them in a way that the water, the fluid from that meat or from that fish does not leak out to contaminate the frozen processed foods. And if it is a fridge, the meat, the fridge, and whatever, they should be below. While you have your milk on the door, you have your fish on the door, you have your pizza, some other processed food that needs refrigeration, your yogurt and things like that. You can have all those above. So the way we arrange our fridge is very, very important. The work table in our kitchen. I'm doing my cleaning. I'm doing my weekend cleaning. I'm washing the floor. I'm cleaning my kitchen, cleaning my toilet, cleaning my everywhere. But I put my cleaning agents, my cleaning supply, I put it on the work table in my kitchen. And when I remove it, I forgot to clean the table. If I come back and I want to cut my vegetable and I put my vegetable on the table again, or I put my fruit on the table. So that is why we have to be conscious. The work table itself can be a source of contamination in our fridge, in our kitchen, sorry. It can be a source of contamination in our kitchen. Then another thing is when you want to cut your vegetables, you rather use a chopping board and do not cut directly on your table. If you don't have a chopping board, you can use a flat plate as your chopping block, as your chopping board. Cut your vegetable on a flat plate. You can use a tray as your chopping board. Whatever you want to do, do not allow your food, especially if it's a raw food, don't allow your food to have direct contact with your work table, because it can be a source of contamination, a source of toxin into your food, artificial contamination.
Maryam, we are running out of time.
Working, cooking, chilling. When you cook, when you chill your food, if you are the kind that prepares your vegetables and your rice and everything and freeze them, only freeze, put them in small amounts that you can take out at a time. You don't thaw your food and put it back in the freezer. Only put them in a sizable amount that you can need. Then general hygiene, washing your hands regularly, don't opening your hair, especially when it's artificial hair in the kitchen and things like that, because all these things can fall into your food. I just added some of the things, so I've added at the back some of other things that can contaminate your food. But if you are talking about toxins in the system, in the food, do we really need to be taking all these detoxifying supplements that is in the market today? There are lots and lots of them in the market. Do we need to be taking all these things? And that is why I said, naturally, God has created these toxins in the animal or in the plants. And even the one that we artificially introduce by ourselves, if it is within the safe level, there is a way the system naturally eradicates these toxins and remove them from our system. And that is the function of our liver and our kidneys. And sometimes our skin participates in this, and lungs. So the body naturally eradicates them from our system. So you do not actually require all these detoxification toxins, supplements and things on our special diets and a lot of other things that are present in the market today, because they themselves are artificial in nature and they can even introduce more toxins into your system. Then you drink a lot of water, you quit smoking, limit your alcohol intake, eat a lot of fiber, sleep well, eat adequately, and a lot of other things that you need. Then you can add antioxidants. Antioxidants mop up free radicals from the system. Most of the time they come in form of spices. And clove is a very good antioxidant, ginger, garlic, and a lot of other things that we can add into our food that can mop up free radicals from our system. Sauna is like a hot bath, steaming bath that will allow us to remove toxins through our skin. So these are other things. These are just other ways, other things that we have at home that can introduce toxins into us. So the summary actually is that many plants manufacture and store these chemicals that we are talking about, and human consumption of plants, human consume plants that are incompletely detoxified, because even this system of the plants, they remove some of these toxins by our processing, like fermentation of cassava and things like that. They remove some of these toxins or our gluten from the cereal and things like that during processing. They remove some of this gluten and toxins, but yet it is not 100% removed from this food. And there is a need to understand the true nature of what toxins are and how it operates, so that we'll be well informed of all this. So the additives and the drugs that are injected to animals are also source of toxins, and toxins can accumulate in our cells and they can cause effects, whether they are minor effects or sometimes they can, when they accumulate to more than safe level, they can cause devastating effects in our system, which we have mentioned previously. So I will just conclude with these phrases that says, not all things are poisons, but nothing is without poison. But the safe level, the dosage, the amount in your system will determine whether the poisoning is going to affect you or not. So that is what I've got for about food toxins and food safety. And I will be happy to welcome any comments or any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Maryam. If you can stop sharing, you have taken,
Okay.
except it was a very good lecture, but you've taken all the time now. So we have just few minutes left for any comments, any questions.
Oh, sorry.
Janet, I know you had a comment. Do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah,
yes,
please go ahead.
Yeah, just thank you so much, Maryam, for your insightful presentation. Yes, I just wanted to add just about 2 practical things we can also do when we go to the supermarket, because sometimes you buy things you can't avoid the canned products. Please don't choose cans that have a bulging top or is dented, because that botulinum she was talking about is very fatal and it forms spores. So when it releases its toxin, it causes the cans to get bulged at the top. And if it's dented also, it means that the can integrity has been compromised. So in the canning world, they check all these things as well. So let's not add to the leaching that comes from the tin. So let's choose that wisely. Again, as also from our community, the Black and African and Caribbean community, we eat a lot of smoked fish. Once the smoked fish goes moldy, please try not to eat it, because it has histamine and it has some other things that are not good for you. Sometimes, because it's difficult to come by those things, we bring them from Africa. Even our storage, we don't store them properly, and when it goes moldy, we still wash off the mold and use it to cook. Let's be careful about those things. And you've talked about those things. Let's try and use different chopping boards for meat and a different one, because sometimes I know we wash it, but as to whether the cleaning has been effective, we can't tell. Yeah, so thank you.
Janet, before you go, so the molded fish, what about the salted fish and all of those things that we get from Africa? Some of them come in.
So the salted fish usually, it's difficult sometimes for the toxins to multiply because of the salt, because salt is a preservative. Hardly will you find that. It means that it wasn't salted fresh. So that's under a different problem. The toxins have already, or microbes or whatever is developing has already developed in it already. So nothing can be done about it. Yeah, I'm sorry about the brownness. That's it. Try and freeze them if you get them in bulk. Don't leave them out. Once it's moldy, don't use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Maryam, there's a question in the chat. I think that's the only one we can take because our time is up now. Can you see it? I saw it in the...
Grown with fertilizers.
Yes. Are foods grown with fertilizers organic?
Yeah, it's a big question. Because when you are talking about fertilizers, there are different types of fertilizers. And the fertilizer we all know as fertilizer is actually artificial. There's what we call manure, and there's what we call fertilizer. Manure is from animal waste that has been processed. There's a way they ferment it and things like that. They use it for plants to enhance plant growth. But these fertilizers we are talking about, most of them are artificial in nature. They will tell you it is organic, but in actual fact, they have used fertilizers. And that is why I said, because you see organic on the label of food does not ordinarily mean that it's 100% organic.
So once it's made of artificial fertilizers, it's not organic. Yeah. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, we can't take any more questions. Maryam, did the presentation as if we were in a classroom. You can tell that she's a lecturer. She just went on and on. And Maryam, next time, please give us some 15 minutes to ask questions. But that was really very, very deep, very insightful. But fortunately, we have to hand it over to Orlando to take us for the next session. Thank you so much. It was a lot of information. No, that's fine. Lots of information. And the recording is still going to be available. So I believe people will definitely go back and catch up on some of the things. Because, yeah, it was a lot of details. Thank you so much. And people are saying thanks for the clarification. So on this note, I'm going to hand it over to our next Orlando for the next session. Thank you all for joining. Please do join us next week. I think we have a session on allergies and food sensitivity. So same time next week. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's appreciated.
Thank you, Dr. Hibbah. And hello and welcome to the exercise part of today's session. Today, as promised, we have a leg circuit coming your way. So yeah, last week was the last box size session. So today we're moving forward, we're going to circuits. We're going to start today with legs, nice and hard. So for today's session, all you'll need is plenty of water and plenty of space. All right, we've got 2 circuits to get through tonight. We're going to start, as we do normally, with a warm-up. So let me sort my tunes out. Okay, we're going to start nice and light. We're just behind knees for 30 seconds. Get ready. People, get to your spaces. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. I need. Get those knees nice and high to the waist if you can. Okay, hip rotation. Change direction. Front to back. Three, 2, 1. Let's go. Side step kick. Fifteen seconds. Three, 2, 1. Okay, give yourself 15 seconds. Take a quick shake up, and then we're coming straight back in with the warm up. Okay, people back to your spaces. Let's continue with our warm up. The next move we've got here: long stride forward, long stride back. Okay, stay on one side for 30 seconds. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Let's stretch those legs. Nice straight leg at the front, straight leg at the back. And change legs. 3, 2, 1. Now let's open again. So up, around. Okay, outside and in now. Next move, avoid soldiers. So we'll kick one leg out, nice and straight. I'm going to touch our toes with the opposite hand, like so. Alternate. Three, 2, 1. Time, people. Okay, go back to your corner now. Take on some water, and then we'll jump into round number 1. Okay. Okay, people, let's get ready now. Let's go into round 1 of circuit number 1. So again, today is leg focused. All right, so we have 2 circuits to get through with free 1-minute exercise per circuit. Okay, so to start off with, got 3 exercises, 1 minute each, 30 seconds rest in between. All right, so first move we've got is prisoner squats. Okay, so we're going to be here, activating the shoulders and chest, keeping the core nice and engaged. I'm going to squat down halfway here. So we're here, nice and deep. Come forward, push the hips forward. Squat down, nice and deep, hips forward, really squeeze your bum. Okay, from there we have slow reverse lunges. So we're going to do it here, we're going to step back, dig that toe in, drop the knee to the floor. Okay, we're going to stay on one side for 30 seconds. We're here and down, and then we'll go 30 seconds the other leg. And then the last exercise of round 1, calf raises. So we're here. I want you to raise the heels. Raise the heels, nice and strong. Raise the heels. Watch it. Raising the heels, like so. Okay, so we've got prisoner squats to slow reverse lunges to calf raises to finish the round. With 30-second break in between. Let's go, people. Let's start the round. Let's go. Game time. Okay, get yourself ready. Prisoner squats for 60 seconds. Get ready. Let's go on the drop now. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's keep that going, people. Halfway now. Nice and deep. Make sure as you come up, thrust that hips forward. Really squeeze the back of your legs. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, there you go. 30 seconds rest now. Shake those legs up. You might want to give them a little massage. Rest. Take on some water. 15 seconds left to rest, people. So reverse lunge is coming next. Remember, one side at a time. Okay, get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Reverse lunge. Keep that going. 10 seconds for that side. 3, 2, 1. Change legs now. Ten seconds. 2, 1. Okay, rest for 30 now, people. Ten seconds. We've got calf raises coming up next. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go calf raises. Okay, that's halfway, people. Raising those calves. Make sure you get a nice squeeze at the top. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and rest, people. Okay, take on some water. We've got 45-second rest, and then we're going back for round number 2. Ten seconds, people. Okay, people, back to your spaces now. Let's continue. Let's get straight into round number 2 now. All right. So again, we've got 3 exercises, 1 minute each. 30 seconds rest in between exercises. All right, so first one, we have burnouts. Just in calf raises there, what we're going to do, we're going to elevate, we're going to bring our heels up. And then from there, we're going to try and bounce a little bit. Let me move back a little bit. I'm going to hit. So really pushing with the toes. Okay. If that's a bit too difficult, then you can stay flat footed and do the same drill. So here. But if you can, hit those jumping muscles, the calves again, and then try and bring those heels up. And hit. Okay, from there we have a squat hold. All right, so we're going to go down, hands on the head, well, hands here if you want. We're going to be here. We're going to go 30 seconds, rest for 10, and then go for 30 seconds again. And then third exercise will be RDLs. So we're going to be here, slight bend in the knees. And we're going to drop down here, digging with our heels, and then pull back. And really looking at the back of the legs here. Over here. Digging with the heels, shoot back. Raise up nice and strong. Okay. So from burnouts to squat hold, and then we'll finish with RDLs. All right, people, let's get ready now. Let's start with burnouts. In 3, 2, 1, go. 30 seconds. Keep going, keep going. Keep bouncing. Yeah, I got your heels up, or you can stay flat on the ground. Keep working, people. Three, 2, 1. Okay, take your 30 seconds breath. Then go back on. Run those hard if you need to. Ten seconds. Okay, let's start. Now get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hold that, people. Hold that. Hold that. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, stand up for 10 seconds. Shake your left arm. For 30 seconds. Coming in 3, 2, 1. Drop back down for me, people. Hold there, 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And rest for 30 seconds, people. RDL is coming up next. Last exercise. 10 seconds. Get ready. Okay, let's get ready now. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Go, people. Fifteen seconds. Two, 1, on time, people. Well done. Take a 30-second walk break. And we'll come back and stretch off. Well done. Okay, people, join me back in your spaces now. Let's stretch off. Let's start with the hips. We're gonna go around nice and slow. Change direction. Front to back. Okay, open the gates nice and slow. Stay on one side. Change sides. Okay, back to your original side. Close the gates now. Change sides. Okay. Keeping those legs together. Try and touch your toes. Come up nice and slow. Okay, next one. Knees together. Bring your heel to your bum. Okay, legs. Go down, take it all off. And that's time, people. Well done. Legs down, leg circuit complete. I'm not sure if any of my colleagues are on, Sam or Praise.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Orlando. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for attending today's session. Really hoped you all enjoyed it. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week. Bye.
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 Lovely presentation.
Thank you.